Parshas Matos, from Parshas Matos to Masei, the first pasuk in the parsha. Vaydaber Moshe el Rosh Hamatos Livnei Yisrael Lemor Zeh Hadover Shetziv Hashem. In two significant features, this pasuk is different than most of the other dibros that Moshe Rabbeinu was given, or that he said. Usually it's Vaydaber Moshe or Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe Lemor or Vaydaber Moshe el Bnei Yisrael. So number one, he's talking to Rosh Hamatos. So that's a very unusual feature. We have it in very few other places. And the second aspect is Zeh Hadover. Zeh Hadover is a very chashuv lashon, as Rashi points out immediately. Moshe Rabbeinu uses the lashon of Zeh Hadover Shetziv Hashem. The other Nevi'im said Koyamar Hashem, to tell you that Moshe's level of nevuah is on a significantly higher madrega. But there's still more to be said, and we're going to do that now. This is Yoznaim LaTorah, whose Yosef was this past week, the Lutzka Rav Zalman Sorotzkin, Schus Yogen Aleinu. And he has a very detailed and very, very important lesson to be taught about the significance of the human being, of the human creature as the pinnacle, as the highlight of Masei Breshis, and we know that that is our ability to speak. What does that koyach of dibur entail? A, what are we able to accomplish with it? And B, as importantly, if perhaps even more so, what are the responsibilities of that dibur? So the entire topic of neder and nedava is what's covered in the beginning of Parshas Matos, Masechtas and Shas, which discover neder and shvua and the koyach of dibur, and it's emphasized and highlighted by this pasuk. Zeh Hadover Shetziv Hashem Ish Ki Yidor Neder, having to do with the neder. So, one other feature which we didn't mention. Vaydaber Moshe Zeh Matos Livnei El Harosh Matos Livnei Yisrael Lemor Zeh Hadover Shetziv Hashem. Okay, Zeh Hadover Shetziv Hashem. And he points out, that's what I was going to say now. Vaydaber Moshe El Rosh Hamatos Livnei Yisrael Lemor Zeh Hadover Shetziv Hashem. If we think about it for a second, that's not the way the psukim go in all other places in the Torah. What should it have said, or could it have said, which would fit in more consistently with the other psukim? It would have gone like this: Vaydaber Moshe El Rosh Hamatos Livnei Yisrael Zeh Hadover Shetziv Hashem Lemor. That's what it always says. But the lemor is before Zeh Hadover. So what is it coming to tell us? That's the first point that he points out to us, which is fascinating. He was able to have the insight to see that. Lemor, to say Zeh Hadover. In other words, the Zeh Hadover is part of what you have to say. That's why the lemor comes before it. Lemor, you have to say Zeh Hadover. So that's an interesting tzivui, that the Nesiim, the people of the Rosh Hamatos, have to tell Bnei Yisrael not only the din of Nedarim, but Zeh Hadover Shetziv Hashem. You have to know all the halachos of Nedarim, but that's because this is Hadover. Exactly in the same way, he says, you now that eat nevelos treifos, shkotzim ramosim, every other mitzvah in the Torah that were given as a tzivui of Hashem, in exactly the same way, when you make a neder, you have to follow all of the rules HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you for the halachos of neder, koinam, the whole Masechta of Nedarim. Okay. Interesting. If you say the word zeh after a noun, this is, but you say it afterwards, you say, I'm talking about this item and not another item. And he gives an example. Baya zeh, you're talking about this house and not some other house. Or this davar zeh, you're talking about this and not some other thing. And not some other thing. However, if the word zeh comes before the noun, as the pasuk says, zeh hadover, not hadover hazeh, but zeh hadover, it tells you that this is chashuv. It brings eyes and arayas. Zeh hayom aso Hashem, or zeh Moshe ha'ish, and zeh keli vanvehu. Wow, zeh keli vanvehu. The word zeh emphasizes the chashivas of the place. And in 10 places the Torah uses the word zeh before the noun, And in every one of them, he says, is to be marry you the chashivas of this dibur. So it's telling you this is a very chashiv thing. And that's why by Nadam it says, Zeh hadovar. What is it telling you? This is chashiv. When you talk, when you open your mouth, you got to remember, this is your power that Hashem gave you. Watch how you talk. In all of the aspects of dibur, as emphasized and as clarified and as brought out by Neder. The dibur of an Adam can change everything. The dibur of an Adam, your power of speech, can take something that's mutter and make it asur. Wow! Or for mutter to a chayva. Okay, the Torah emphasizes this because it's so hard for us to understand that. What do you mean? We know that there's a lot of chuvim, but my simple speech can say that this thing before was mutter, now it's asur. That is an astounding chiddush. This Michael, it's a piece of Michael, which if I say that this is asur to me, is now asur to you. Now what does that mean? What does that mean? What koyach is that in that dibur? What is that? What is the effect? Now listen to this. If a person eats something that's healthy, it makes him healthier. If a person eats something that's poisonous, it can kill him. And you have to ask a doctor, is this mushroom, best example, there's certain mushrooms which are regular mushrooms. Other mushrooms, if somebody eats them, they're fatal. So you have to ask a mumche, is this a good mushroom or a bad mushroom? Or a doctor can tell you this food is good for somebody who has a heart condition, and this food is bad for somebody with a heart condition. It can actually hurt his gashmias. It hurts his physical being. Not only that, the power of dibur can take something that was mutter before, makes it asur, makes it poison to you. It hurts your ruchnias. How do you do that? How is your power of dibur able to do that? A basar chazer can be masak a person's neshama. But if a person makes a neder and says that this thing which was mutter before, a regular piece of bread, and now it's asur to me, it's mazik his neshama in exactly the same way as a piece of chazer is mazik his neshama. It's metamtem delayv. If somebody eats something that's not kosher, it's metamtem. It messes him up. We know countless stories where kids weren't doing well in yeshiva. It turns out they had something that was not allowed to be eaten. It's neged to the neshama. Now, one more thing I want to get to, and then, yes, it changes the nature of that piece of food into something that becomes poison to you. Why was this having to be said to the Rosh Matos? What's the lesson to be learned from that? Who is a Nasi? Who's a Rosh Mata? Somebody who was chosen or who were elected to be a Nasi, became a leader. But what does that Nasius mean? That's a nice title? President, Havdal, governor, mayor. Is it a title? Or does it have halachic status? The answer is yes. The title of Nasi has halachic status. He has to bring a different carbon. If he doesn't have Era, he brings a sawyer on his chatos. Everybody you have to have covet for him. Okay? You're not allowed to go against his word. Also, Lamra says piv. And certainly to be Makala Nasi. That's all of these are mitzvahs in the Torah about a Nasi. Okay? So that the fact, and they had this title, by the way, in Mitzrayim. In Mitzrayim they also had Nasiim, as brought down Medrash Rabbah. So we therefore see that the Mahus, the actual existence of a Nasi, is on a different level, different madrega from another person. So that is part of this Zahadover. What is that Zahadover telling you? That your dibur, your human input, has the ability to makadesh everything. If you want to take this doimen and you want to be makadesh just to bedek abayis, now has kedusha. Why? Because I said so. I say I'm makadesh just to bedek. I'm not doing it. I'm makadesh just to bedek abayis. Okay? If I take some grain, I harvest my field. I take off a shtickle and I say, this is truma. This is now truma. If a zor eats that, chayav kares. So you can take a doimen and make it be kodesh. You can take a tzaymeach and make it kodesh. And you can take a living being, an animal. Obviously, we all understand that. And say, harezu oila. It is now an oila. Harezu shlamim. It's a shlamim. It has kedusha, kachim kalim, whatever it is. And a person can also have that ability. If he's a nasi, his level of Kedusha goes up. So we have the ability to change the teva of the world from the lowest to the highest. And that is the power of Dibur. So let us be a little bit more respectful of our power of our tongue. Certainly, this is not a bad thing to keep in mind. We should try to be careful with Lashon Hara and Rechilas and Nivul Peh and all of the Averos that we're all well aware of. But this puts it in a different light. This tells us that we are really elevated. We have the ability to be elevated if we bear that in mind and keep track and try to be better people in everything that we do, not only in our Maisim Tovim, but even in our Dibur, even in our Machshava. It doesn't discuss Machshava here, but Kavanah has a very important role to play as well here. Have a good Shabbos.